going on, good people? It's your boy Marley. Welcome to High Vibrations, a conscious channel where we're going to discuss truth and spirituality and a whole host of topics that we got. Today, we're going to buzz down this book and not the information inside the book, whether it's true or not. That's not the question here. The question is going to be, how did we arrive at the King James Version of the Bible? Ultimately, how did we get here? So this isn't a knock on Christianity or actually the Bible itself. It's just information on how we got to this book, and hopefully that'll give people some clarity on some certain aspects of where they're at in their journey as far as religion and Christianity, truth, all that whatnot. So let's get into it. Now, in breaking down this book, we have to understand that, one, the original language wasn't English, it's Hebrew. And in understanding that, we also got to understand that once you translate the Hebrew text into English, some of these stories are completely different. I'll provide an example at the end of the video of where I got a mentor of mine or a guy that I watch on YouTube break down the Tower of Babel story. He gives you the English version, and then he gives you the Hebrew version, and he translates the words and show you how the story is completely different. So, and getting back on topic, now we got to understand that this is just copied from a copy. These are copies. We do not have any original manuscripts, scrolls, tablets. None of it's original. It's all things that we've rediscovered or found in caves, deserts. Rich people had possessed some of these old Bibles, in collections, museums. All those things that you find are all copies of copies of copies. There is no original source material for this work. So now there were over 500 original books to the Bible, and obviously we only have 66. Now the 500 original books was reduced to 80, and then that 80 became known as the King James Version, and the rest being deemed unacceptable. Now the Protestant church comes in and they reduce the 80 to 66, and then later called it the revised version of the revised King James Version of the Bible. Now we're going to look at Revelations 22:18. Second, let's get to it. Revelations 22:18. Here we go. And I warn everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book, if anyone adds to them, God will add to him the plagues described in this book. And if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God will take away his share in the tree of life and in the holy city, which are described in this book. So what does that say? If anyone adds to or takes away words out of this book, God will take your life from the book of life, and you will not be permitted into the, I believe it said golden city or heaven in the short. You will not be permitted into heaven as well. So we're not supposed to take away or add anything in this book. As I just told you earlier, there were originally 500 books to the Bible, and the Protestant Church and Council of Nicaea and others reduced that 500 into 80, and then the 80 reduced to 66. Now, we just heard God say that you're not allowed to take away or add to the book. But let's focus on Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Moses. all these books of the Bible, but we do not know who these people are. There is no record of Matthew. I mean, there's a Matthew. I know a Matthew. I know Matthew around the corner. But we don't know what's Matthew's last name. What's Mark's last name? Luke. What's their last names? What heritage did they leave behind? Who is related to these people? What is their? I mean, we don't have any. There's no artifacts. There's no statues. There's no family bloodline. There's nothing left behind from any of these people that show any of these people existed. There's no actual. There isn't an even actual original script or manuscript or original scroll by Matthew. Like we just have copies of copies. So not only do we not have the original works, we don't know who wrote it. We don't have anything of the people that have we've been told that wrote it. There's nothing left from those people that say that they ever existed. Like I said, there's no statues, there's no cemetery, there's no gravestone, there's no stories outside of the Bible of who these people were, where they were at, what they did, what happened to their families. Did they have wives, daughters? There's no other. All we got is this from these people. I mean, that's it. No proof. Now, so what we have to understand is that this is a copy. It's a copy from a copy from a damn copy. There's nothing original. Now, with these copies, we have thousands upon thousands of errors and contradictions. It doesn't take a scientist. Just Google contradictions in the Bible. Thousands will pop up. Now, so in actuality, we do not know who wrote the Bible. It's a mystery to us. I mean, yeah, they say Matthew wrote it, and then I asked you who is Matthew, and then you just can be like, Matthew, Matthew, buddy from the Bible. But who is that? And did he ever existed? I mean, 1,000 years from now, if I find a Clifford the Big Red Dog book, doesn't mean there really was a Clifford. I'm just saying. So we don't know who wrote it. But what we do know is who promoted it the most. And that was the Roman Catholic Church. So that's where we'll begin. The Roman Catholic Church. And we're going to start with the year 1 AD. Now, the Bible has been translated into Latin, 180. Now, with that translation, with that promotion of the Bible and the church, came the translation into Italian. Now, with that translation, they also decided that it cannot be translated into any other language. Now, that being said, since the Bible's inception, there have been people like myself, there have been people before me, there have been people before them, and people before them. Pretty much since this book's inception, there has always been people speaking out or speaking what they deem is the truth behind this book. That is nothing new. There is nothing new under the sun, as they say. So you got to understand that what I'm doing right now, I'm not even speaking out against it. I'm just pointing out where it came from. And in later videos, I will point out inconsistencies and errors. Although I do deem this book very important, and we should all understand it and know it, regardless if you believe that what's written inside is literal truth or allegory or whatever your belief system, supports. But there has always been critics of this book. Now, another reason, other than some of the reasons I've listed before, that people question the book, is that the New Testaments were written 400 years after the Old Testaments, and then 70 years supposedly after Jesus had died. And then that combined with a lack of proof it really had people questioning what's going on in this book. So now we fast forward to 303 AD. Emperor Diocletian, he issued an edict to get rid of all Christian manuscripts that he felt, and he did this because he felt that he was still worshiping the Roman gods, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, etc. So even though he didn't go out and say that the worshippers of Christianity should be prosecuted, what he did was he destroyed all manuscripts because he wanted Rome under one worship, one religion. Now, it wasn't until 311 AD when Constantine took over the throne, and he instructed the scribes to begin making copies of the copies, because that's all they had was copies. So now, quick background on Constantine. Constantine was a general, and when he went into, I'm not exactly sure which battle this was or which war this was, he saw a symbol. I believe it was a cross in the sky. Someone please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but he saw a symbol of some Christianic symbol, which led him to convert once Diocletian died and he assumed the throne, which led him to convert the Roman Empire to Catholicism or to Christianity under the same umbrella. So in 311, he did just that. As I said, he instructed the scribes to go make more copies of the copies, which was full of inconsistencies. Now, people knew that, or I'll say people felt like, or part of the reason people felt like the Catholic Church was doing this was, when I say doing this, converting over to Catholicism and converting everyone under this reign, under their reign, to Catholicism, was because of power. So the Catholic Church was doing this to gain power in places that they already didn't control, that worshipped Catholicism. And so as a result, other religions began to pop up. So in 1015, Pope Urban Pope Urban II sanctioned the military to basically go conquer every fucking thing that didn't believe in what we believe. Now, they taught us about this in grade school. We know it as the Christian Crusades, where the Christian church just pretty much went around wiping out all other religions. Now, they let Islam stay. I'm going to tell you why in a later video. But they went around wiping out everything. Like I said, this became known as the Christian Crusades. So you got to understand that there was no TV, there was no cell phones, there was no media, there was no news outlets. It was nothing that was controlling people's minds and telling people what to think and what to do. So people actually had time to dig into this book and read it. See, a lot of us don't really read this book today. We just go to church and the preacher tell us to crack open a certain verse in the Bible and we read along with him. But as far as an understanding of the book, we really don't read it. I mean, to be 100% honest with you, I know more now about what's in this book than I became conscious or, spiritual than I did when I was actually a Christian. So also we got to understand that it's 1015 when the Pope issued this military, or sanctioned the military to go out. It's 1015. The Catholic Church has been around since 1 AD. So we got a lot of members. We got 1,015 years to get members upon members upon members. So the army was huge. And as we all know, they prevailed. And they squashed a lot of other religions, i.e. the Gnostic religions. And I'll go into another video about the Gnostics and what they believed. Well, actually, real quick, they just believed that the God that the Christians worshipped was actually the devil, quote unquote, or a bad person or a bad deity that actually trapped us in flesh instead of being the savior that the Christians think he is. So that's one of the major differences in the Gnostics, and obviously you can see why the Christian church would want to knock off the Gnostic religion. They're saying that their God is the evil one. So now, with that being said, since they squashed out the religions, this became the major religion at the time, and people are reading this book. So more translations are beginning to pop up, which the Catholic Church has already forbid. So in 1229, the Council of Toulouse makes a creed or law that states only clergy and priests can possess the Bible, and as a result, that anybody else that is found with this can pay a strong fine or a possibility of death just for possession of the Bible. But however, this did not stop people from translating the Bible. This is a very important book, and this is the age of religion. This is the time that, religion is dominating the world. So people kept trying to get translation. Well, they didn't keep trying. They kept getting the book translated and kept getting their hands on the book. So in 1380, John Wycliffe, not the rapper, John Wycliffe translated the Bible into English for the first time. Now, upon doing this shit pissed off the Pope so much that after John Wycliffe died, they dug up his bones and scattered them across the river. All because he translated the Bible into Italian from English for the first time. So in 1415, John Huss tried to do it again, translated from Italian to English. They burnt him at the stake. If I'm not mistaken, they used some of John Wycliffe's books, or maybe they used his books to burn him at the stake. But nonetheless, they burned him at the stake. Now, a very important date is 1448. The Johann Gutenberg printing press is invented. And guess what's the first book printed off the printing press? Of course, the Bible. Now, the printing press made it readily available for everybody to get their hands up on now, because now we're just printing up books. Boom, 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 boom. Nobody has to do this by hand. So now all right, so this made it easier for people to get their hands on on the Bible. Now, as a result of more people getting their hands on the Bible, different forms of Christianity began to pop up, because different people had different interpretations on what they thought the Bible was saying and what they thought the Bible meant. So this is where you get Protestant and Methodist and Baptist and all these different sects of Christianity, which became known as the Age of Religion. Now, during this time frame, Pope 1564. So this is roughly 80 to 100 years, about 80 years or so, roughly. I'm doing the math in my head roughly. Pope Pius IV. This is in 1564. Pope Pius IV from the Council of Trent. They decreed that if you do not have any permission, you cannot read or purchase a Bible. And the reason for this was the Geneva Bible. So go back and look at your research. The Geneva Bible, it pointed out all the contradictions that the Bible had, like little cliff notes in the corner. It's just start pointing out all the inconsistencies and errors that the Bible had. Now, the main thing that it did, though, was it labeled the Pope as the Antichrist. Now, if you go to Revelations, there's 10 signs in Revelations that point to how we will be able to identify the Antichrist. And one of those signs being that if you add up all the letters to his name, it adds up to 666, right? So how you get Pope from 666? Well, that's not what they're using. So whenever someone becomes the Pope, they get a crown. Now, on this crown, it is Vicades Velade. Now, which Vicade Velade, Vicade Velade, vigor of the sun. It translates into vigor of the sun. Now, when applied in Roman numeric system, Vicade Velade adds up to 666. Now, I don't know if that's a coincidence or, I haven't done a bunch of research into that. I know the numbers do add up to 666, but I'm not, I haven't done enough research into Revelations to even know the other points or to go back and point at the all the other signs that would lead up to the Pope being the Antichrist. But that's one of the major signs and that's one of the major facts that the Geneva Bible labeled at the Pope. Well, I won't say facts. It's just one of the accusations that the Geneva Bible labeled at the Pope. Now, as a result of all this, the Catholic Church attempts to hide this information by banning the Geneva Bible from everyone except priests and clergy. Now, the Geneva Bible, it was nothing they can do though. The Bible was pretty much spreading around everywhere, but they had to do something because it was killing everybody. So in not killing everybody, but everybody was getting their hands on this information. So in 1604, the clergy of the Roman Catholic Church, they go to King James I, and they ask him to write a Bible. And that's where ultimately we get the 500 that's going to get reduced down to 80. And then they're going to come back and reduce that down to 66. And it's pretty much King James and the Council of Nicaea. Now, there's a bunch of different conflicting stories about what happened, and that'll be a later video. As far as, like, some of the stories are that they threw a bunch of books on the table, and the ones that fell off were deemed unacceptable and not from the Word of God, not the inspired Word of God. There was all kind of crazy things they did to determine what 80 or how they got reduced to that 80. I'm not sure if what's just hearsay and what's actual facts. That's something that I'll do on another video. Like I said, this video was just to show you how we ultimately got to the Holy Bible in a 21-minute video without going into expressly a lot of details. But that's what happened in the gist. Like I said, we don't know who wrote it, but we know that the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, were the biggest promoters of this book, of this Bible. And obviously, if you look at history, like I said, the Christian Crusades and the power that they used religion to control people, to control the masses, and still controlling the masses today because of mainly because of a lack of understanding. And that's pretty much what it is. We don't know the right information, and so we're being fed information, and instead of going to get the information ourselves, we just listen to the people that feed it to us. So Vicades Felane De. I'm sure I'm brutering that Italian word. But Vigor of the Sun, 666. Geneva Code. So go look up some of these things. Don't just take my word for it. This was a brief, really fast video. The next video I'm already working on, it's going to be titled Who Were We? Which is going to be Who Were We Before Slavery? Because they don't teach us. So that's the next video, man. I appreciate y'all taking time out y'all day to watch this little video on how we got to the King James version of the Bible. It's your boy, it's Marley. This is High Vibrations. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Vibe with me. Stay healthy, stay blessed. See y'all, man.